Greetings, beautiful people. Welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. My name is Creatrix, and this is the world stage where I bring to you the most dominant energetic frequencies that I am able to read and pick out for you to be able to live your best life and reach your highest timeline. Okay. So, today, what we are going to discuss is the laws and rules, the laws versus the rules of this earth realm. Okay. In my previous videos, hopefully you've already watched those and you understand that we are indeed in a full on game. Okay. And what I mean by game is, there are prizes, there are winners, we're in competition. Okay. There are entities involved, and I explained all of this stuff in my previous videos. So go and watch those previous videos, and you will really be able to understand what this earth realm is. And the reason why that this information is coming out now is because there's a shift in the energy. Okay, there needs to be some kind of change. There's too many non-player characters. There's too many avatars, which is us, the physical beings, the humans, who are in the game, who are not realizing or who are being too distracted to realize we are in the game, and your team or you yourself, the soul who has come to play the game, is not able to reach their full potential. It's like it's the equivalent of if you were in a game, right? Like you're literally playing a video game, right? If you've ever played a video game and you keep running into the wall, like boom, boom, boom. You're a non-player character energy. Too many of us. Too many of us. I'm not saying you specifically. Chances are, if you're watching this video, you're already I feel like you're coming into main character energy, like you're transforming, you're transitioning, you're stepping into main character energy for a lot of you. Okay, and I already described how you become a main character. All right, you become a hero. There needs to be a transformation. You go from one energy, one type of vibration, or a specific type of vibration or energy, and you totally transition into the 180 of that, or depending on what your vibration is, you turn into a totally different character, or what your purpose is meant to be here on this earth realm. Okay, that's what is going to dictate what kind of character you're stepping into, and that's up to you, and that's up to your team, right, to get you to understand how to transform, to get you to develop the qualities that are going to turn you into the main character. The main character is the hero. That's when you start actually playing with the game. That's when you start interacting with this matrix in a way that's going to be sending ripples throughout it. It's when you really tap into your magic. I'm getting chills. Okay, so the main character is somebody who can, and what I mean by magic is you're able to affect this reality. You're able to bend it to your will. That's what I mean by, that's what manifestation is. That's what magic is. Okay. And your team, okay, which is your spirit guides, your ancestors, the people who are guiding you. All right. Or the people that you conjure up, because you can conjure up team players who are on the other side, who are in the spiritual realm, right, who are able to see past or exist past time, right, because they're on a different density, on a different frequency. These are our allies on the other side, right? You can conjure up allies as well, as well as the ones that you were born with. Okay. And just because you're born into an allyship with a certain entity, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be beneficial for you. So you, as the player, you have to make sure that your allies have your best interest at hand, that you and your allies are going for the same goal. If your ally wants to party and drink and fuck and have sex all day, but you are trying to go for the bag. All right, you're not in the mood if you don't got a bag. Shout outs to Sir. All right, if you guys know that song, I ain't in the mood if I ain't in my bag, right? Like you're thinking about money and prizes and winning the game and tapping into your magic, but your allies want to party. Like there's something that has to change, and you have the power to be able to switch up your allies and conjure in, conjure or send out a signal to create a contract with a certain ally and say, hey, if you lead me to this and that, like I will fulfill my end of the bargain here on the earth realm, which is whatever you want. That can get tricky too. Okay, so there are dark beings who or allies who can pretend to be good, just like you can also pretend to serve up your end of the bargain and not do it as well. So you have to be very careful, and you do that through manifestation. All right, so you have to be you have to be able to manifest in certain allies that are going to be productive to you, that are going to be beneficial to you. All right, and if you and you do this is not even what I wanted to talk about, but F it, like let's just get into it. So if your ally is for you by the opportunities that come your way. If you have an ally, let's say you make a deal with Baal, right? Baal. Okay, very known entity in this realm, known as a quote unquote demon. All right, by religions. All right. This is like the big giant calf statue, golden calf statue that you guys see. Um, so there are a lot of elites and stuff that praise this entity, that sacrifice to this entity, right? So let's say you conjure up this entity, and you tell this entity, hey, I want fame, fortune, blah blah blah, and this entity says, okay, I need you to sacrifice children to me. Okay, just a hypothetical. Okay, I don't want to say anything bad about this entity because I don't know what this entity actually wants out of people. But let's just say, okay, scratch that. Let's just say this entity wants something from you. Okay, and you're like, all right, I could do that. I can do that. So there's a reason why this entity wants what it wants, all right? And you might not even know why it wants what it wants, but you're so blinded by that prize that you go for it, right? That you go for this contract. You're like, all right, I'll bring you whatever you want, and as long as you bring me the fame and the fortune, right? So this entity will connect you with maybe other people that this entity is working with, that has already made it to wherever you want to go, so that these people can help you up the ladder, right? Let's say you want to be, famous and rich, right? So they're going to bring to you somebody who's famous or rich. But let's say this person that they bring to you, let's say they're an exec, right? They're an exec in the music industry. You want to be a musician. You made a deal with Baal. You're like, all right, whatever you want, you give it to me. So Baal hooks you up with this exec, and this exec says, hey, I have this type of fetish. I want a favor from you that's of a sexual nature. So this exec realizes that they can take advantage of you as well, because you're in a position of desperation, right? Because you already conjured up this entity, right? So then what happens is you give in and you give your body up, right, to this exec for this opportunity. So then you are inflicting trauma on yourself, because maybe you're not somebody who is interested in being with that exec or sleeping with that exec, or you've never given your body up. You don't use your body as a vehicle for getting what you want before, or it was really traumatic. Maybe the way that this exec wanted to use you was really traumatic to you. So now you have trauma, right? But you're getting what you want. So look at this. This entity is very, very smart. By inflicting trauma onto you, right? By putting you around somebody that was going to inflict trauma onto you, this entity is ensuring that you're going to stay in the contract. Okay? Because maybe that exec has recorded you doing this deed, this act, and is, you're ashamed of what you've done and you don't want anybody to see it. So now this exec has blackmailed you, right? But really it's this entity who's blackmailing you as well. So this entity is blackmailing you and making sure that you stay in your contract, because later on down the line, you're going to realize that making a contract with that entity was a total and complete mistake, because you are unfulfilled spiritually, because you took a shortcut to get what you wanted, which was the fame and the fortune, being in the music industry or whatever, right? So now you have to constantly feed this entity what it is that you want, what it is that it wants, right? Whatever the deal was, you have to continuously keep sacrificing to this entity, right? You have to keep sacrificing to this exec, maybe your body, to keep your reputation intact, right? And so now you feel like you're stuck in this perpetual cycle of being somebody's bitch, right? You're literally, you are somebody's bitch because you were so blinded by the fame and the fortune and not being able to do it the right way. Hey, light workers, people who are good, quote unquote good, there's no such thing as good and bad, which I'm going to do another video on, but this is a strategy, right? Everything's a strategy in this game. Nothing is good or bad. It's just, is this thing going to get you what you really want? That's it. There is no good, there is no bad, there is no judgment, there is no heaven, there is no hell. There is a heaven actually, but there is no hell in the sense that you're going to get judged for your deeds. And the spiritual realm is a shameless place. It's a guilt-free place. It doesn't matter what you do in the earth realm. It only matters what you believe. So if you believe something's going to get you to hell, you create your own hell, right? We're all manifestors. We're all creators. That's why we are all GODs, all right? Manifestors, creators, right? So people who, my point is to say that people who are empathetic and who care about other people and who are considered good, but like I said, there's no real good or bad. We also want money. We also want things. We also want fame, fortune, love, fulfillment, and we are willing to do what it takes to get to those things. But you being strategic, okay? Being strategic is very important, because you don't want your strategy is played out. The strategy of, oh, I'm going to make a deal with an entity that's going to use me and play me, like that has to end, because you're not going to get what you want out of the deal. You might get it quicker than working with someone like the Most High, right? Because what the Most High is going to do is the Most High is going to put you through tests that are going to simultaneously make sure that you're ready for whatever gift at whatever level you are at. The levels that you're passing, all the gifts you're going to be prepared for. So once you get the money, once you get the fame, once you get the recognition, you'll be able to use it properly. People will not be able to use those things against you. It will truly be a prize. You get what I'm saying? So that is why the Most High does not chase or seek out people to come to it. The Most High sits back and waits and sees what you're going to do and how you act and how you behave. And the Most High, that is a call to the Most High. Your behavior is what shows the Most High that, okay, now I can approach this entity. And the Most High will come to you when you call for the Most High by displaying the behaviors and characteristics that the Most High deems as qualities that the Most High will be able to work with. Because if you're impatient, if you have guilt, shame, or trauma that you're not working on, sorry, there's distractions outside. Distractions, right? Like if you are somebody who's easily distracted, then the Most High is not going to waste its time. Like the Most High just don't do that. The Most High just doesn't do that. So honestly, if you want to make a deal with an entity or have an ally, which is recommended, because this game is difficult. You're not going to win this game blindly. You need an ally on the other side, right? You need friends on the other side. What is that? Tiana, Princess and the Frog. You need friends on the other side. So the best friend that you can collaborate with, the best ally that you can collaborate with is the Most High One. Is the Most High One, period. Hands down. Okay, and no offense to my Orishas, no offense to my Luas, no offense to any to the Vikings, to the Nordic, to the Hindu. I love all of them. I love all of them, and I work with all of them. But even they will tell you it's best to work with the Most High, because the Most High, the way that the Most High thinks and strategizes is unlike no other, and only a specific group of people will reach that place to be able to work with the Most High. But we should all be striving for it if you want the best outcome. Now, if you're somebody who likes to be a bottom feeder and likes to be an NPC, and you don't want adventure and fun and safety, and you don't have any goals in this game, why are you playing it? Why are you playing it? You decided to play this game. You might as well play it. Okay, so that's just a message for the people, all right, for whoever needs to hear it. And we all need to hear it. Even I needed to hear that. So yeah. But what I wanted to speak about in this video is laws versus rules in the game. Okay, and I do have notes here because it's a lot. So laws, just to be clear, laws are things that you cannot change. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you manifest, laws are laws. They're in place. They're solid. They are made out of stone. So when I think of stone, I think of the 10 Commandments. So thou shalt not kill, right? Is that a law? No, because you can unalive somebody. You can unalive somebody. That's not a law. According to the spiritual realm here, I'm talking about according to this game. I'm not talking about the law according to man-made law. That's different. All right, and we'll get into that later. But I'm talking about laws are things that you cannot change. All right. For example, all right, and laws have been the spiritual law, which is solid law, unchangeable law, that's been in existence since the beginning of this realm. Okay, so the first one I want to talk about is that our internal world dictates our external world. Okay, so your perspective, the way that you view things, the way that you feel things, your emotions, your judgment of yourself, everything that you think, feel, and experience in your internal world is going to dictate what you think, feel, and experience in your external world. Okay, some of us call that as above, so below, I believe. So as within, so without. All right, that is a law. Period. Okay, so if you are intelligent, you will hear this and you will think, wow, I can change my internal world. Your internal world is malleable, right? Because you have control of your internal world. And if you have control of over your internal world, then by by logic, you have control over your outer world. Okay, so if you want to change your outer world, all you do is you change your internal world. Example, right? If you don't like how somebody is treating you, change the way that you feel about that treatment. Find it funny. Oh, the way that this person is treating me is so hilarious because this is a reflection of how this person feels about themselves, not a reflection of me. And I bet you that person will change the way that they treat you. It just is what it is. The because people can pick up on energy and they feed off of your desperation. They feed off of your codependence. They feed off of the way that they can move about your emotions. They some people, that is powerful. If I can make you feel a certain way, then you have given me your power, right? But if I want to take back that power, then I will change the way that I feel about that, and you will get bored. You'll get, it's not fun anymore, and they'll stop bullying you. Okay, so that's just an example, which leads me to the next law. All right, I'm gonna try to get through these as quick as possible because like these are hermetic laws, I believe, but I completely channeled this on my own. So I don't know what the hermetic principles are. I do know some of them, but I don't know if I touched on all of them because I don't know all. I think there's 7. I don't know all 7 off the top of my head. So I believe these correspond to those the hermetic principles. However, I haven't really memorized the hermetic principles and deep dive into that. What I'm trying to say is that I channeled this completely from my allies, all right, from my spirit guides, from the extraterrestrials, right? So that takes us to our next law, which is everyone has a choice. You, at any given time and space, it doesn't matter where or when you are, you always have a choice. There's always a choice. And if there's no other choice but these 2 choices, you will always have these 2 choices, okay? Which is action or inaction. There's always let me repeat, there's always the choice of action or inaction. Okay? And that can be in your internal world, that can be in your external world. Okay? Action doesn't always mean 3D, whatever. And action can be, how should I feel about this? How should I think about this? Those are actions as well. It doesn't always have to be, oh, I gotta punch through this or do that, or I gotta, do this physical 3D move. It can also just be like, oh, let me have this thought, or let me feel this, and let me invoke this emotion to feel, right? So like, for example, I don't know why I'm picking up on this example, but let's say you're in a situation where you're being tortured, right? I know this is really grim, trigger warning. All right, I hope I'm not triggering anybody, but if I am triggering you, then maybe you need to heal something. Okay, but let's say you're being tortured and you're tied up, and somebody wants an answer from you, or wants information out of you, and you're being tortured and you feel like you can't leave or move. Maybe you're physically like tied down, pinned down, or whatever, right? You always have a choice. Even in that situation, you always have a choice. Okay? You can not take any action, which is don't say anything. You choose not to say anything, and you just continue for somebody to physically abuse you. Second is you have the option of saying or telling the truth. You have the option of lying. You have the option of waiting for the right moment to where you can escape. Okay, there's so many different ways that you can fight back or decide not to fight back, or whatever the case is, right? So even in a situation where somebody has physically um, it has you in physical captivity, you always have a choice. Okay. And this also brings me to, I'm also getting another example in my mind. If you guys are familiar with the Mahabharata, which is a Hindu book, all right, where Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, who is a royal. He's royalty, but he's facing a choice where he has to fight with his friends and family. And by fight, I'm talking about military fight, where he has to like kill family members, right? And he's talking to Krishna. Krishna is essentially giving him a pep talk, and Krishna is explaining to him like you always have the option of action versus inaction, and like what each of those kind of means in the scale of spirituality, and where we should always, like, he's just trying to give him advice on what he should do, right? So Krishna says something very amazing, and it really like sparked my interest, is that like we first of all, you always have a choice, is what he says. And inaction can sometimes inaction can is also an action. Inaction is also an action. So you deciding not to take an action is you making a choice, you making a decision, right? But what the spiritual realm really wants us to do is to take action, right? Is to take action. And sometimes that action seems like inaction. I know it can get confusing. What I'm trying to say basically is that it's important to always take action. All right, not to escape a situation. It's good to take things head on, right? If you ever feel like you need to flee or run away or escape, it's most likely it could be some form of spell work or energy manipulation that somebody else is wanting you to do. All right, heroes always face things head forward, right? I'm not saying don't be intelligent about it or be spontaneous. Sometimes it does require you to be logical and take your time and be patient, but the best action is to face things. All right, that's when you become the hero. So there's always a choice in a situation, whether you have to wait it out and take action, or take action immediately. All right, so I hope that made sense. I know I was like kind of, I was listening to myself speak, and it sounded a little confusing, but check out the Mahabharata, and specifically where Arjuna and Krishna are speaking about action and inaction. Okay, and you can find it on Google or whatever. So yeah, let's move on to the next law. All right. Um, oh yeah. So the next law is we need to consume consciousness. Our avatars need to consume consciousness. What we're breathing in at this moment is not air. We are breathing in air, but that's not what is keeping us alive. Okay. Let me close this window because this is loud as hell. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, so I was saying that what we are taking in, what we are consuming is consciousness at all times, right? So we take it in through food, through water, through breathing. There's so many different ways that we consume consciousness, or it's less conception, but more of integration. All right, we integrate consciousness constantly, and that is the only thing that our avatars need to survive here. All right, and the main ways that we consume consciousness is through breathing, right? We are breathing in consciousness, right? As well as air, as we are in a medium, right? We are in a pool of air. right? That is the earth realm, but consciousness is the main thing that we need to consume. All right. So with that, I just want to say that there are different grades of consciousness. There is different qualities of consciousness, right? You can look at food that way, right? Because food is consciousness that we are consuming, no matter if it's vegetables, plants, animals, anything in between that we consume, right? Everything, it has a consciousness. And when you consume consciousness, it has a frequency, it has a vibration, right? Which dictates what kind of quality it is. So depending on uh, what you want to invoke within yourself, what you're trying to invoke in your internal world, right? You can strategically choose what kind of consciousness you want to consume. All right. And the consumption of consciousness isn't only through food, water, and breathing, it's through what you view, right? What you hear, all of those things. And you can tailor that, you can tailor your environment to support you in a certain direction, right? That you want to go in. So that's part of manifestation. That's why, if you want to be rich, that's why you want to act, feel rich. And what would you consume if you were rich? What would you drink if you were rich? What kind of friends and family would you do? Because you're trying to be in that vibration so that you can attract, right? You can attract um more of that vibration, right? More of that richness, that feeling of being rich, and the universe will match you in that attraction. Okay, so there you go, law of attraction in that as well. Okay, um, so hopefully that made sense, and that's I'm feeling that was a huge, like, golden golden ticket. All right, so use that to your advantage. All right, and what I'm also picking up is somebody might need to eat berries. Okay, I'm just picking that up. It might be for me too, but somebody that's listening to me right now needs to eat berries, and I'm specifically picking up strawberries, blueberries, and blackberries. Okay, somebody really needs to eat berries. It could be that the colors of those berries correspond to the chakra that needs healing the most within you right now. Okay, strawberries are getting pink. Okay, so it could be your heart chakra, not your. I was gonna say your whatchamacallit, the root chakra, but it's pink. So your heart needs healing. Okay, and then the berries, the blueberries and the blackberries, is for your third eye. Okay, so yeah, you might want to consider consuming those berries. So another law, right, is energy cannot be created nor destroyed. All right, and we know that from physics. That's one of the laws in physics, right? So I did a video on this on my TikTok. If you're not following me on TikTok, go ahead and do that. But I talked about, like, witchcraft on TikTok, and my Instagram too. But I basically talked about how, like witches, warlocks, whatever you want to call it, energy manipulators, like people who have a desire to influence other people in a negative way, right? Because we're constantly influencing people, but people who intentionally want to influence you in a negative way, who want to manipulate energy to send you in a certain direction that is beneficial to them but not beneficial to you, those people is what I'm referring to. Okay, I'm going to call them energy manipulators. So these energy manipulators, they're able to tap into their subconscious to be able to tap into their target person, right? I think I have talked about this on YouTube too in a previous video, but they tap into their target person through a grid of consciousness that we're all connected to, right? We're all connected to this grid, whether we want to realize it or not. But this grid can be used to target somebody to place a thought in their mind, in their subconscious mind, and then that target person manifests that subconscious thought. Okay, and if you have trauma, it makes it easier for that negative thought to manifest, and especially if that practitioner or the energy manipulator already knows what your traumas are, then they can leverage that to make the manifestation stronger, if that makes sense. But what happens is when they make a connection to their target person, that target person also has a connection to them. So it's a two-way street. It's not like the energy manipulator can only target the person and the person can't target the energy manipulator back. No, there's a bridge that's created. Okay, a stronger bridge. There's always a bridge. We're all always connected, but that bridge becomes highlighted or strengthened through that process, right? So what I'm saying is that energy that energy manipulator is sending to the target can be sent back if the target consciously send it back, right? That's where you get your return to sender type of stuff. But it can be sent back automatically if that target person has firewall up, right? Like, you can think of us as computers, right? Some of us have really strong firewalls up to where like anything that anybody sends to us automatically bounces back. The virus automatically bounces back and goes into the computer of origin, which is the energy manipulator, right? So hopefully you guys are following me. However, okay, and this is just a little tidbit, a little sauce that I'm giving y'all right now. Some of y'all, if you are constantly attacked spiritually, right? This is a strategy that your guides or your allies could be using to strengthen you. Okay, because energy is neither created nor destroyed, your allies, you could be somebody, your soul, right? You could be somebody who can take a lot of spiritual attack. Okay, and so maybe your guides or your allies or you yourself, you've strategically lowered your firewall. Okay, you might have a really strong firewall, but you've lowered your firewall to let a little energy in, right? Because you're a what? You're a master transmuter. Okay, so this is where it gets real spicy, all right? And I'm talking to my occultists out there. I'm talking to my magicians. I'm talking to my, you know what I'm saying? My puppet masters, all right? I'm talking to somebody who's on a really high level right now. I'm picking up on you. You're on a really high level. Oh, I can feel your energy. You're just high. You're on a high. Like, I can feel that you are, like, it feels like you're on like narcotics. I don't know why that came to mind. Like, you're on narcotic, like you're really speedy, like your mind is just like boom, 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 boom. I could feel you, right? Whoever I'm talking to, wow, it must feel great to be you. But your firewall, you could let down your firewall to let energy in because you're a master transmutationerist. Like, this is crazy. You let that firewall down. You let them put that spell work on you. You let them do what they do. And I'm picking up on a lot of people are constantly attacking you because you're a threat in their eyes, right? And they're constantly attacking you. So you let them attack you. You just eating that energy, eating it, and transmuting it into something good. When you catch that energy, when you let that firewall down, you let that energy in, it's hitting you. Whatever they're trying to manifest through you, like, it's hitting you. So if they're trying to make you feel sad, depressed, XYZ, right? These people who have ill will against you, you eating that shit up, but you have to feel it first. That's why you're so freaking amazing. Like, this is not for the weak or the faint-hearted, what you're doing. Like, many people can't do what you do. Many people would have been unalived if they tried to do what you do. Okay, so you're taking these hits. And you're transmuting that energy and you putting it in your back pocket. You're putting it away in a bank. It's like you're saving up this energy and you're putting it in a bank. Whoo! Oh my gosh, whoever you are, like, this shit is crazy. I was not expecting this. Like, you're putting it in a bank, in a piggy bank, and you're gonna do something with that energy at the right time, at the right moment. Oh, you're a strategizer. This is not your first rodeo, whoever you are. Ooh, okay, I like. So I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but it can be transmutated. Okay, in this game, in this realm, you can transmute energy. All right, but first you're gonna have to feel it, and everybody has their own strategy depending on who you are, whatever your gift is, right? So it could be that you're feeling the energy. It could be that you're sensing it. It could be that you're sensing it somehow, and you're transmuting it. And people transmute energy in so many different ways. But yeah, I'll just leave that there. So let's move on to the next law. Okay, cause and effect. Every cause has an effect, all right? And this is where we're going to get into karma and dharma and all those concepts, okay? The truth really is that karma is pretty much instant. It can be instant and it can be long term as well, okay? But karma is not predicated on this concept of good or bad. It's predicated upon cause and effect. Okay, example, what I mean by that is, if you're somebody who lets people slap you in the face, let's use this, right? Because a lot of religious people like to use this, where the Most High said, turn the other cheek. Or not the Most High. Why did I say the Most High? Wow. Yeshua probably was an avatar for the most, he is an avatar for the Most High. That's what Yeshua was. He was trying to wake us up, right? At that moment in time. And the Most High was using him as an avatar to do so, right? Just like the Most High is using me as an avatar to speak and wake y'all up, all right? I just turned 33, by the way, yesterday. I turned 33, okay? I don't know why they told me to say that. I turned 33. But yeah, Yeshua is an avatar for the Most High, right? And so in the Bible, it says that he says something about turning. If somebody slaps you, you turn the other cheek so they can slap you on the other cheek, right? That's not about being a bitch and letting somebody trample all over you and walk all over you. That is about controlling your emotions, being able to be so controlled in your emotions, among other things. All right, that what he was talking about is there's so many different ways that you can interpret it, but it's not about letting people walk all over you. That's not what he's saying. All right, because if you are so empathetic, so codependent, such a doormat for people where they can slap you around, you're going to receive karma for that. You are creating your own hell. Unless you like that type of thing, then do you, boo. Some people have a fetish. They like being trampled on. Like, that's do you. But if you don't like that, right? If you like being respected, then you're going to have to do things to earn that respect. All right. So karma can come to those who think that they're not hurting a fly and being trampled all over, right? Which is being disrespected. That is a form of so-called karma. But also, if you're doing something bad, right? Like, let's say you're taking advantage of people, right? You have a big company and you're taking advantage of people and it's making you rich, you're exploiting people and it's making you rich, your reward for that is having money. Yeah. You're rewarded for that, for having money. So cause and effect are not about good and bad. It's simply, right? What action or inaction, whatever choice you make in any given moment can have an instant or long-term effect on your life. Period. There's no judgment around that. It's not good or bad, heaven, hell. No, it's just simply your choices have consequences, whether you deem those consequences beneficial or unbeneficial. Is unbeneficial a word? Or not beneficial? That's up to you. You get what I'm saying? So everyone needs to be strategic and smart about the choices that they make, right? And just as a word of advice, a lot of choices we're not able to see that far ahead. Okay, even me as somebody who is, extremely psychic and gifted in that area, I can't always see how my choices are going to affect me in the future. That's why having allies is very important, and people to protect you is very important, because they can guide you to make certain decisions, and also certain decisions that you've made, they can help buffer the consequences of those decisions if it's not beneficial to you, if that makes any sense. Okay. um okay, so I think this is second. Okay, almost done. Oh, okay. So on the topic of energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transmuted, can we just reverse real quick? I have in my notes that unhealed trauma can cause death and disease, which is also related to cause and effect, right? So healing your trauma is very beneficial, like strategically in this game as well. That's why if you make a pact with the Most High, if you decide to work with the Most High, then the Most High is going to have you heal your trauma as you climb levels, as you climb the ladder, because strategically having trauma, unhealed trauma, is just, it's going to get in your way because you're going to perceive things incorrectly. Okay. But also, if you don't heal your trauma in terms of cause and effect, if you don't heal your trauma, it will fester in your body. It will fester in your body because your emotions need to be expressed, right? If you suppress your emotions, they need to be expressed. If you suppress them, they are going to manifest in different ways until you face them head on and express those emotions. And the way that they manifest is through dis-ease, discomfort. All right. The C word, cancer, really bad illnesses, high blood pressure, all this and that. And trauma can be the type of consciousness that you consume. So it can be the food that you consume that is trauma as well, if it's not good for you. Okay. If it's not integrating properly into your being, then it can cause trauma. So when I say trauma, I don't always only mean emotional trauma. I'm talking about, trauma from the food we consume, trauma from the water, trauma from the environment. um, there's all different types of trauma that we can experience in this realm. All right. Another strategy that we can use also is to propel us very, very far using trauma. All right. And I've already spoke about that in a previous video, I believe. If not, I will touch that on that again. But let's focus on the laws, because it's taking forever. So another law is that we cannot escape our design. All right. Um, it like we have to use we have to use what we've been given to our advantage. Okay, like femininity and masculinity. All right, these are energies that exist, period. There are beings who have more femininity, there are beings who have more masculinity, but it's balanced. It's imbalanced, right? So that we can create a balance. What does that mean? So me, I identify as a woman. I identify as a feminine entity, right? So I, as a feminine entity, I still have masculine in me, right? But I have uh, a, 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 a natural imbalance of feminine energy because I am a woman, right? So I have it's imbalanced, but that's how it's supposed to be. So it's balanced, right? So I have more femininity than I do masculinity, right? Masculine, feminine, bigger amount of femininity, right? That's because I'm meant to be with a man who has more masculinity and less femininity, and us coming together is going to create a balance as one. We become one, right? That's what marriage is, right? And we cannot escape that. So I'm just being called to speak about it in a 3D sense because we already know that there are feminine actions, there are masculine actions or approaches, there are feminine approaches, masculine approaches, right? Everything is going to be feminine, either feminine or masculine. It's going to fit in one one of those two categories, right? But in terms of us as human beings, right? We cannot escape our design. That's the way that this law was brought to me. It's like we cannot escape our design. So um we have a mind, and that mind can be altered, right? So let's say somebody is in a male body, but they want to identify as female. Okay, there's going to come a point where you are going to need to address that trauma, because that is trauma, and that's no judgment. Okay, I love everybody. I love everybody and I respect everybody. And if you want me to call you a he, she, they, I don't mind. I will do that. I love you. However, I'm going to tell the truth, and I will let you know that way of thinking is not strategically beneficial for you, because it is trauma. You're hanging on to trauma and you are using that trauma to identify who you are. And there are so many people who do that, and it's not always gender based. People use alcohol as, they're traumatized and they use addictions, and that becomes their identity. People, food becomes their identity. All these different things can become our identities, but for this specific section, I'm speaking about feminine and masculine nature. All right, we cannot escape that. We cannot win this game if we do not address the balance between feminine and masculine. We cannot escape our design, is the way that it was brought to me. Okay, so we need to, and this can manifest in so many different ways. I'm not only talking about transgender folks. I'm not only talking about homosexual folks. I'm talking about, women who have become overly masculine. That's not going to fit. That's not going to fit who you are. That's not beneficial to your avatar or to your strategy to be able to win this game. Same thing with men. Being overly feminine is not going to mesh with your hormones. It's not going to mesh with your avatar. It's not going to mesh with your strategy here in this realm. So you cannot escape your design. What we need to be doing, or what a winner would do, is you use your design to your benefit. Okay, so me as a woman, I am a feminine energy. I know that it's beneficial for me to approach things in a feminine sense. However, I am balanced, so I'm able to use my logic and my action-based thinking to get things done. However, I'm always going to tap into my spirituality, my intuition, to help guide me in those actions. Okay, so I'm balanced in that way, and I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. I hope that's not the way it's coming across, but I have been through a lot of training to help balance as much as possible my feminine and masculine. That's why I'm using myself as an example. And there are many people out there who know how to use their balanced feminine masculine energy to their advantage. Okay, because pretty much, like, for me, I don't have to think too deeply or overthink or have anxiety about what do I do next? How do I do it? Because my balanced feminine side, I trust my intuition, right? I tap into my intuition, and then my masculine side tells me how to manifest those actions in the physical realm. So it's kind of like you become independent, you become whole in yourself, and you can't escape this design. You can't move forward. There's a lot of people who are trapped in their own bodies because they're not able to balance this part of themselves. So it kind of has you going in a circle. You get what I'm saying? So if the feminine is taking you left and the masculine is taking you right, if you can balance those energies out, then you can be sturdy, right? Because one is going in this direction, one is going in that direction. You're able to be in the middle and you can move in a straight line because you have these two forces pulling you in exactly opposite but balanced directions. So you can move in a straight line. But if you have too much femininity or too much masculinity, right, you're just going to constantly be going in a circle or going um, in a different direction, right? But you need those two opposing forces to help stabilize you to be able to move forward, if that makes sense. All right. Um, so yeah, you cannot escape your design. And I say that with the utmost love and respect. All right. Um, so the last law is that there are going to be events globally in your life personally that we cannot change. There are certain events in our lives or in our collective lives, both, that we cannot change. For example, okay, the time that we're in right now, okay, all of the stars and planets are in alignment in a way that they are influencing the planet or the earth realm, that there's a change coming, right? Like, for example, moving from the period of Pisces to Aquarius, we're already in the age of Aquarius. And what happens? The energy shifts, right? Pisces, there's a lot of mystery, a lot of hidden knowledge, a lot of lies, deceit. Okay. The institutions were able to flourish, right? Government. Um, all of these different things, right? But in the age of Aquarius, what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of knowledge. All of the hidden information is coming to light. The truth is being told, and knowledge is being spread. It's less about institutions and more about the collective, more about like society as a whole, right? So that nobody can change that. Nobody can change that energy. Nobody can change that event. That event already took place and it's taking place, and it has the effects of that are happening, and nobody can change the effects of that, right? The only thing that we can do is use those events to our advantage, right? So that's what the elites did in the Piscean age. This information about Earth being a game, that's going to be under wraps. We're not going to talk about that. That's a hidden knowledge. We're going to use this energy to keep people in the dark, to keep people scared or in fear or low vibrational, because we're going to use this information to our advantage, and we're going to keep them down, and we're going to do this. We're going to use institutions to do this. It's going to be perpetual. It's going to be strategic. It's going to be it's like this whole functional thing where it has a life of its own, right? But now we're in the age of Aquarius, and this is the type of energy that the Most High can use to rectify what was in the past, right? Like, because things are changing. But the Most High uses all types of energy to its advantage, right? And also all the other entities use the energy to their advantage as well. But like I said, these events cannot be changed. It's just like, can you use it to your advantage, right? Like, for example, for me, what's coming up for me, or let's just say for the collective, if you're a mother and you have a child, right, and you're thinking like, maybe you had a child with someone that you you didn't think was advantageous, right? Or it could have been a crutch, right? And you have so many things to do in your life, but you have a child now, and it wasn't something that you wanted for your life per se, but you love your child, but you feel like, oh, maybe, this is kind of a crutch. Well, the Most High is going to use that child to keep you in line. Make sure you're not doing all the fuck shit that you used to be doing in life. All right, to keep you on the straight and narrow, to keep you in hermit mode, because there's a lot of growth that needs to be happening. You get what I'm saying? So that was an event that could not be changed. Maybe in the spiritual realm, you made a contract that you were going to have a child by somebody that you don't necessarily, that maybe isn't helping you, that maybe put you through a lot, right? And you didn't really think you were going to have a child by this person, but you do have a child, right? But the Most High is now using that child to your benefit, right? So yeah, all I'm saying is that any event in your life, you just use it to your advantage, even if it's something that you can't change. All right, because there's just certain things that no matter how hard we try, we can't manifest against. All right, because this earth realm is a machine. It's a machine, and everybody, the changes that happen is meant to give everybody a chance. Okay, there are entities that thrive in the darkness of the Piscean age. There are entities that thrive in or players that thrive in the age of Aquarius, where things are transparent and knowledge is abundant and overflowing. Right, so it's meant to give everybody a chance to shine, but also it's meant to give everybody a chance to like mix and match energy, like see how it's about growth, right? It's about evolution, right? It's about, okay, in this environment, how do I make things work for me? Oh, in this new environment, how do I make things work for me? Okay, it's about being a malleable, what is it called? There's this term that we use, plastic or plasticity. Your brain is constantly changing and stuff. You guys know the term that I'm trying to say, but it's about evolution, right? So I think I've talked so much. I'm not gonna get into the rules yet. I'm gonna make a separate video about the rules. Okay, so these are just the laws of this realm, and these are the laws that we can't change, and it's important that we know them so that we can use them to our advantage and we don't waste our time. All right, so I hope this was educational. I hope it was entertaining and all that stuff. I appreciate y'all so much for joining me, and yeah, I will see you in the next video. I love you all so very much. Follow me on TikTok and IG, and yeah, subscribe to my channel so that we can talk some more, you can get to know the place that you're living in even better. All right, and be the magician that that you came here to be, because we came here to brag about who we are. We came here to show other people how we can do what we do. All right, so yeah, I love y'all. I love y'all so very much, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, peace. Creatrix out.